Am I the a-hole for telling my dad he has to decide between me attending his wedding and accepting I won't take part in the family unity ceremony or accept I won't be there? My dad's engaged to his partner of about 2 years. They moved in together last month, and their wedding is in December. I, 17 male, am my dad's only biological kid. His almost wife has 3 kids of her own. Her kids are younger, like under 10. Maybe they're even all under 8. I'm not that sure. They decided they want to do a family unity ceremony and have it be about becoming one family instead of the 2 of them just being a married couple. Her kids are excited by the idea and want to take part. I don't and won't take part. I already explained to my dad that I'm not interested and can't be talked into it. He asked me why and pushed for me to reconsider. He told his fiancée, and she's freaking out because her kids have this idea that they'll get a big brother out of this marriage, and my dad and she told the kids will be real siblings once the 2 of them are married. All of this despite the fact I really don't know her or her kids. I've only spent any real time with the kids twice, and it was more me trying not to be a prick than me wanting to spend time or get to know them. I think that's obvious because I don't even know their actual ages. Some background to explain some relationship dynamics, because I'm sure there are questions. My dad raised me alone. My mom took off when I was less than a year old. I don't remember her. I don't remember her being around. Her family wasn't around or in my life either. I didn't have a lot of family besides my dad growing up, except for one of his siblings. And for most of my life, Dad was a good dad. But when I was maybe 11, he started preparing me for the fact he wanted his own life and to travel the world when I turned 18, and I'd be on my own. He talked about how I shouldn't expect to see him very often, and to expect we might not see each other for years sometimes, and how he didn't want to be tied down until he dies, that he would call or answer calls when he wasn't busy with life. He said some stuff that made me believe he resented the fact he raised me alone and had to change his life for me. He never actually let up on that. He talked about it so much that we started to fight. I told him I got it, that he was done being a dad at 18, and he told me I was being dramatic. I argued that he told me I could go 5 or even more years without seeing him, and that he didn't want to be tied down, that he might even ignore calls so he could live life. I told him that sounded like he wanted to stop being a dad. He told me I focused on the wrong parts. When we argued about it other times, he said that he wanted the life he missed out on, and he wasn't waiting around for me to be ready, that I'd land on my feet eventually, and I wouldn't be his kid anymore. I'd be his peer, which he then said I misunderstood. But basically, for years I have been prepared to leave at 18 and not have my dad in my life. Then he met his almost wife, and all that talk about traveling the world was gone. He started to become a dad to her kids. He was spending time with them and building a life with them. Eventually, he tried to include me, but that was only really in the last 4 or 5 months. I've ignored it. I did babysit twice for them. Once when his almost wife was rushed to the hospital, and the second time when she had follow-up surgery for health issues she has. My dad has tried to argue that our family's growing, and I should be trying harder to be included in it. I told him that won't happen. And if he wants whatever half-hearted relationship he planned to have with me before, then he needs to accept that. That I'll come to his wedding if he wants me there. As long as he accepts I won't be a part of that ceremony. And if he can't accept it, then I won't go, and he'll need to accept that. His almost wife heard us talk it out and said, I'm not taking the 11 good years into account, and I'm punishing her children for my dad not being perfect, and that isn't fair to them. She told me a good person would be glad Dad decided to stick around and love the new people, especially the kids, and want better for them. Am I the a-hole? And for full disclosure, I have about a month to go until I'm 18, and my plan is to move out that day. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad set the parameters of your relationship when you were still young and drummed them into your head. Now that his priorities have changed, he acts surprised that you are not interested in a different relationship. Go live your life. He must have expected me to be the same upset 11-year-old who first found out what his dad had planned. But I knew he was serious, so I thought about and planned for when that time comes. Exactly. I'm just thinking I'm little you, hearing all this and wondering what your future would hold if you couldn't make it on your own at 18. This is not a good parent, by the way, regardless of how you may have felt he was good to you before all that. 11-year-old me was so sad and worried. It felt like nobody wanted me. My mom hadn't wanted me and left, and my dad was basically saying he regretted sticking around to raise me and would leave once he wouldn't get in trouble for it. I had no idea what I was going to do. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying okay when my mom's husband said he won't be coming to my wedding? My 29 female was supposed to be getting married last year, but my dad died days before the wedding, and I couldn't go through with it. Luckily, the venue we had chosen was willing to reschedule us at short notice on compassionate grounds. Our new wedding date is this summer. My mom's husband announced a couple of weekends ago that he won't be coming to my wedding. I said okay, and moved on in the conversation I was having with someone else. He was seething with rage over my response and asked me if okay was really all I could say. No question about why or trying to change his mind. I told him I had expected this and that he basically told me he was going to do this last year anyway, so why would I pretend to be shocked or beg? To provide some more context, my mom married her husband when I was 15. I didn't get to know him before the wedding, so I met him at 15. I don't consider him a father figure, and I never called him my stepdad. My older siblings felt the same way. He never put much effort in with them because they were 18 and 21 when he married mom, so I guess he felt like they were fine without him. But it always felt kinda weird because I wasn't some little kid either, and I had an involved dad. Last year added some tension. He ended up in the hospital 2 weeks before the wedding and wouldn't have made it if the day had gone ahead then. He was bitter that I rescheduled because Dad died, but not so he could be there. There were also some hard feelings over me planning to walk down the aisle and dance with Dad, and not him. He whined about it a few weeks after Dad died and said he wouldn't come if he was so unimportant. At the time, I said nothing because my grief was fresh. But now I'm just like, okay, because I don't care if he's there or not. I really don't. His presence will not make or break my wedding. He felt like I should have argued for him to come, and Mom said my okay was dismissive and rude. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Sounds like it's for the best. He's kind of a needy man-child, isn't he? Not the a-hole. I guess little man baby wanted you to be upset, beg him to come. Honestly, you handled this perfectly. Indifference is always the answer when someone is clearly trying to get a reaction. Any other response gives them the win. Indifference shows them that they are not important enough to you to care. He did. He wanted me to show him I cared oh so much. He expected me to plead with him and even expected tears, I think. The fact is, he's still bitter. I didn't reschedule my wedding because of his hospital stay, but did when my dad died. Not the a-hole. Stepdad sounds like a self-involved jerk, and your mother honestly sounds pretty bad as well. Your wedding is not about them. I'd recommend having some kind of plan for if A, he decides to crash the wedding, or B, your mother decides to make a scene. I have a plan in place just in case. My brother-in-law will be on standby. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to be my sister's bridesmaid because she chose ugly friends to make herself look better? My sister, 27 female, is getting married and asked me, 24 female, to be one of her bridesmaids. I was excited until I found out who the rest of the bridal party was. Every single one of them is someone she's either not that close to or has made fun of before for being awkward or not photogenic. Some of her actual best friends, the ones she sees all the time, weren't even asked. It felt weird, so I asked her why she picked this group. She kind of laughed and said, "You'll understand when it's your wedding. You don't want people who'll outshine you in your own pictures." I just stared at her. I asked, "So you picked them because you think they'll make you look better?" She rolled her eyes and said, "It's not that deep. I just want to feel confident that day, and I'm allowed to be a little selfish for my wedding." That rubbed me the wrong way. I told her I didn't want to be part of a bridal party built on tearing other people down, even subtly, and that she should have picked people she actually cares about. Now she's calling me judgmental and sensitive, and our mom says I'm being too idealistic and should just support her. but I feel like going along with it makes me complicit. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. So what does this mean about how she thinks of you? And clearly she doesn't think much about herself. It's so sad that women are pushed to feel and act this way when this would likely not be happening to so many grooms. Applause to you for saying something and not participating. She's always been like this. I am rather curvy, and she has never failed to shame me for it. She is a typical model-esque skinny person, and she got a lot of attention growing up. She's beautiful, no doubt. But yes, I have a good-looking partner, and she has subtly hinted that he could do better than me. I don't see what she has to be insecure about. She's objectively good-looking. As for my appearance, I like the way I look. I'm comfortable with it. I just don't see why she feels the need to bring others down to make herself feel better. Not the a-hole, and I'd send a message to those girls. Questions will definitely come up why none of her core group were asked, and why her sister left. Because she lumped you right in with them. I actually did. I made a group with all these people. There's a group already, but she's in it. 2 of them said that they did not want to be participating in this capacity anymore, but were fine attending. One person said that they weren't coming to the wedding altogether. Some still haven't responded. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex's girlfriend she isn't special, and he will do it to her too? I, 30 female, was only married to my ex-husband, 32 male, for 2 years. We dated for a little over a year before we got married. When we were dating, everything was fine. He had a lower libido than me, but I was fine with how often he wanted to have sex, about 2 to 3 times a week. Once we got married, that gradually dropped to maybe twice a month, and then nothing. The last time he and I had sex was on my birthday. My birthday is April 24th, so it's been almost a year now. I asked him to see a doctor. I asked him if there was anything I could do. I tried everything I could think of. He wasn't on any medication. He just wasn't interested in it. I ended up starting the divorce because I'm not living the rest of my life like this. When I started the divorce, his ex-wife asked to meet with me and said she hadn't wanted to get involved earlier because she didn't know if I was asexual as well, but that he had done the same thing to her and the girlfriend before her. We are still working on the divorce. Thankfully, it is a fairly easy process since we weren't married long and none of our assets were merged, bank accounts, property, etc. We also do not have any children together. Anyway, he is now dating a woman named Amy, 24. Amy has shown up to every divorce hearing lately and acts smug about it, like she's winning some sort of prize. She has told me he has sex with her all the time and that I just wasn't meeting his needs. I ended up telling her he did the exact same thing to me. He did it to his other ex-wife, and he did it to the girlfriend before her. She isn't special, and give it a few months. He won't continue this. He is asexual. He's just trying to lock her in before he goes cold on her. She looked shocked and just said she doubts that, then left. Later, my ex called and was mad. He said she's thinking about leaving after what I said and has gotten in contact with some of his exes. I don't really feel sorry for him because it's underhanded and holish to do that to people. But I do kind of feel bad for ruining his relationship. I told him he should stop doing this and find someone who is also asexual, or he will never be happy in a relationship. I'm not sure if I was an a-hole for telling her, but I felt like she should know he's doing the same thing to her that he did to us. And I wish someone would have told me before I married him. I wasn't super nice about it, because she ticked me off, but still, I felt like she should know she wasn't the special one who would fix him. Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She was smug. You told her the truth. If he keeps doing the same thing, that's on him, not you. Not the a-hole. If you had gone rogue and told her this without provocation, then sure, maybe you'd be the a-hole. But she was the one bragging about how much sex they were having to her boyfriend's soon-to-be ex. That kind of opened the door free and clear to you to tell her that won't always be the case. You weren't being mean. You were being honest. You told her the truth based on your experience and others. If someone had warned you, maybe you would have been spared a lot of pain. She deserved to know what might be coming. Last story. Am I the a-hole for going into detail of my crappy day to make a mother leave me alone? I, 22 female, have blonde hair that goes past my hips. I love my hair and put a lot of work into maintaining it, but you can imagine the comments I sometimes get, being compared to Rapunzel, etc. And normally I laugh this off. If it's a little kid, I indulge them more often than not, as it's cute. I've had a really rough day. My 11-year-old dog had to be put down due to cancer, and I went from the vets to a cafe, not wanting to go home and see her things and be reminded of it all over again. So I'd been sitting at a table with a coffee, waiting for my boyfriend, 23 male, to finish work and come meet me, when a mother and her daughter, who looked about 8-ish, I don't know, I'm not good with kids' ages, it's a guesstimate, came up to me and asked if her daughter could take a picture with me because I looked just like Rapunzel. As I said, normally I'd indulge this, but I was not in the mood. I was in a low mood and had been crying a lot, so I felt gross. I told them thank you for the compliment, but I didn't want to take a picture. The mother got really upset with me and told me I didn't have to be rude and that I didn't even smile, that it would cost me nothing to be nice, and that her daughter was just a kid. I admit I lost my temper at this and told her I wasn't a Disney cast member for her to badger. That she asked, and I said no, that I had just put my dog down and was hiding at this cafe because I was dreading going home to a house without my dog. That I had no interest in posing and putting on a happy face to take a picture with her child. I also started to cry again. She got very flustered at this and rushed her child away. My boyfriend finally got to the cafe around half an hour later, and I told him what had happened. He told me I took it too far, that just because I was having a crappy day didn't mean I needed to make other people's crappy too. I ended up going home not long after. Maybe I was too rude, I don't know. It's too late to do anything about it. She was a stranger. I just feel raw emotionally. My boyfriend might be viewing my actions with a clearer head than I am. Not the a-hole. People feel so entitled. Once politely declining, the mother should have walked away. I'm sure you weren't looking smiley and happy like Rapunzel. This is a lesson for the kid. Don't talk to strangers. Kidding kinda. Honestly, I have no idea why she'd have wanted me in a picture with her kid. I didn't have a mirror on hand, but no way was my face not a blotchy mess. Not the a-hole. That idiot had no business bothering you at all, let alone getting angry when you said no. I see this a lot here. No is a complete sentence. Now, as long as you weren't rude to the 8-year-old, the entitled mother deserved the trauma dump. Oh, absolutely not. No matter how upset I was, I'd never take it out on a child. I'd have sooner removed myself from the cafe before that if it was the kid badgering me. Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law to shut the F up? I, 24 female, got married at 18 to my very first boyfriend. We got divorced when I was 19 and it was incredibly messy. He is not someone I want to be around ever again. Then I met my current husband at 20 and we got married after 2 years together. Everything is going wonderfully and we are expecting our first baby in late August/early September. My husband knows about my divorce and never told his family. But when we were dating, his family looked me up and found out. Ever since then, they think I'm a gold digger and a slut. My husband defends me and we're lower contact, but since getting pregnant, we've been in contact with them again. Everything has been smooth except for comments from my mother-in-law every now and then. I had my baby shower this weekend with just my close friends and family. Everything was going well until my mother-in-law brought up my divorce in conversation with my mom, making some sort of comments like, "Aren't you glad your first grandbaby is with my son and not with her ex-husband?" My mother politely laughed and brushed it off until my mother-in-law called me over and out of the blue asked, "So tell me the truth between us ladies. Is that really my son's baby? Or are you just saying it so he'll support you?" We all know how you were in the past. Everyone stared at me in disbelief. There was only 6 people there total. I looked at my mother-in-law and told her to shut the heck up and get out of my house. She told me she was just looking out for her grandbaby and I told her she didn't have one and she wasn't welcome in our lives. She left, and my sister-in-law started berating me, calling me a witch, and saying my mother-in-law had every right to question me. And I told her, if anything, I was the opposite of a cheap woman because I have only been in committed relationships. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't understand why she said that, and I also feel like I let my pregnancy hormones get the better of me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not today, Hall, but I sure hope your husband is telling off both mother-in-law and sister-in-law. He is 100% on my side. Always has been. That's really good news, because I foresee a couple of decades of no contact in your future if you don't want these people polluting y'all's child. The audacity of that woman. I know my mother-in-law thought the same thing about me for a few years, and for basically the same reason. Married high school boyfriend and divorced after a year and a half with no kids. But she was decent enough to never tell me to my face. I wouldn't have known if my husband hadn't joked to me about it years later. Not day-hole and bizarre. How is a divorced woman automatically cheap? Is this a Jane Austen novel? She's very old-school German, so maybe that's a thing in their culture. I have no idea. I actually know a decent number of German people or first-generation German-American. None of them are like this. Well, there goes my only defense for her. Not day-hole. You and your husband need to get in front of this immediately, together, and lay down the law. I'd seriously go no contact with people as ugly as this. That sort of poison has no place around your child, because have no doubt the snide comments won't stop around your child's innocent ears. Let your husband tell her the good news. He can deal with her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not correcting my kids who told my ex's wife she's not their mother? I have two sons ages 10 and 12 with my ex. We broke up over a number of issues, one of which was Emily, a woman he had worked with for years. The two of them grew very close, and she was always telling me how my ex deserved better than me, that I was trying to steal his family away from him. A few times she even pretended to be his wife during work functions, and my ex would laugh them off. As well as that he was really bad with money and other stuff. After we separated, he made things official with Emily, which came as no surprise to me. Emily was even more openly hostile when she realized my ex's family still liked me and would still include me. Not to mention when she realized my boys weren't super happy that she was their dad's new girlfriend. Emily actually called ex's mom a C-word for saying I was the best mom when they were all having a family dinner. My ex got a firm warning from the judge about using Emily to do exchanges of our boys and to deal with custody issues. This was after her confronting me a number of times during exchanges, in front of my children, and of her showing not just hostility but saying things that could be taken as alienation of a parent. He continued to allow this, and ex was fined for breaching the judge's orders. He was told if it happened again, custody would be modified. Recently, there has been an increase in the anger towards me. Emily's unable to have children, and she wanted the boys to consider her a mom. They asked me for help, and I said nope. That Emily was not the mother of my children, and I wasn't going to encourage them to consider her one after the years of verbal mistreatment from her. The boys had an award night back at the start of June at school, and while there, Emily told the boys to get in photos with her for the school newsletter. They said no. She told them she wasn't asking. They said she wasn't their mom, so she couldn't say that. My ex scolded the boys, but I said nothing. Ex and Emily said I should have backed them up and not allowed disrespect. I told them I did not find what they said disrespectful. They have claimed I am an awful parent and I should not let my kids get away with that, and that I am teaching them to disrespect women, etc. So now I am here to find out. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They stated facts. Also hilarious that they are compliant about not showing disrespect. Does this behavior qualify going back to get the custody modified in your favor? Because honestly, your boy's mental health is going to be continuously harmed by those two a-holes. This does not qualify going back. There was no big meltdown and cussing me out, so the judge wouldn't care. I know that it varies area to area, but what is the age at which the kids can choose whether or not they want to go to their dads? I have a feeling once that age hits, that is a choice they will make. Our court system says 16, 14 in the cases of long-distance parenting. Not the a-hole. Weird how it's disrespecting women when your kids don't want to do something, but it's not disrespecting women when Emily's openly hostile to you. I guess it's different when they do it. They said no. She told them she wasn't asking. I would document that and the entire exchange and bring it to the attention of the courts. Emily sounds terrifying. Not the a-hole. Do everything you can to keep this woman away from your children. It was documented, but this is not an event the courts will care at all about. Her showing not just hostility, but saying things that could be taken as alienation of a parent. He continued to allow this, and ex was fined for breaching the judge's orders. He was told if it happened again, custody would be modified. Sure seemed pretty hostile to me, and it was directed at your children. At least keep track of it because it adds to the pattern of her behavior. Would not surprise me if they attempt to punish the kids somehow for this next time your ex has his time with them. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling the cops on my fiancé's mom? It's a wild situation, but I feel like I need a fair judgment. So I've 27 male, have been dating Regan, 27 female for 2 years, and have been engaged the past 6 months. When we first started dating, I realized that Regan didn't have the closest relationship with her parents, especially her mom. But all her siblings seemed to get along. I didn't really find out why until later. So, Regan's parents are part of the lifestyle, aka swingers. Growing up, this was really rough on Regan. Everybody in her small town knew and people made fun of her relentlessly. She hated it, but at the same time they were her parents. Well, when Regan was a senior, her mom's videos were posted onto a website. Boys in her grade found them, made her life hell. So she immediately went to a college far away, where we first met, and she really hasn't had a relationship with them. We live like 30 minutes from them and see them only at Christmas. Her parents are always reaching out to her, however. And so I've seen as the guy isolating Regan from the family. I come from a traditional family, church on Sunday types. Regan fell in love with this and really attached herself to my mom. They have gotten super close. Regan always talks about her liking my normal parents. So Regan decided to not invite her mom and dad to the wedding. She said she is embarrassed of them and doesn't want people knowing who her mom is. She even asked my dad to walk her down the aisle. Her siblings got angry with us and she decided to cut them off as well and not invite them, which caused Regan's mom to explode. She's called us so many times the last few months and tried showing up at our place. I've had to tell her to leave every single time as Regan didn't want to, which is leading to the image of me isolating Regan. So this weekend, Regan was at a bachelorette party. I was home alone. I hear someone at my door. I see it was Regan's mom and she looked emotional. I spoke through the doorbell and told her Regan wasn't home and that she needed to leave. She kept knocking and saying, I know she's in there, I just want to talk. I said she wasn't home and that she needed to leave. Well, she walked to her car parked on the driveway and made a phone call. At this point, my neighbor texted me and asked if everything was okay as he heard yelling. Regan's mom came back to the door and kept pounding on it, saying she wanted to talk to her daughter. I told her she had 1 minute to leave the property. She didn't, so I called the cops. She was arrested for trespassing. Regan came back and I told her what happened. She was upset at me, but then understood once I showed her my neighbor's text and doorbell footage. Regan's siblings are angry, however, and so is her dad. I can't help but feel like I did go too far. Am I the a-hole? Edit. For people asking, Regan basically ghosted her parents in college. She told her siblings why she didn't want a relationship. They didn't agree with her reasons and that is why she cut them off too. Her parents should be aware of the reasons through the siblings. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Her parents are certainly free to be swingers, but it was very selfish not to think about how their lifestyle choices impacted their children. Regan is an adult and has made a decision not to have them involved in her life. Her mother was warned, but ignored it. You are free to choose, but choices have consequences. This. Also, I'm sure there is a way to be swingers discreetly that doesn't involve having them in the home where your minor children live. Or, uploading videos with your face uncensored. Aside from Hollywood, what kind of parents even does that? Not the a-hole, but look at it from their perspective. I would think the same thing if my daughter cut me off. Regan needs to explain her feelings clearly to them as to why they aren't welcome in her life. Regan also likely needs therapy. But the daughter had almost no relationship even before she met him. Ignoring that and blaming the guy is a clear indicator that they don't take any responsibility for the estranged relationship. It's a common way people take to dealing with things they can't accept the responsibility for. I can't be wrong. There's no way my darling Regan is doing this herself. It must be that awful boyfriend of hers. She can tell them all she wants until she turns blue in the face, but they won't listen because they don't want to hear it. They'll find any reason not to trust it. That's exactly what happened to me. A narcissistic mother with no concept that she's an awful parent. Accusing the guy that told me, you don't actually owe her anything, you don't need to put up with her, of isolating me because there's no chance in hell she could possibly ever have been the issue. 2 kids, 15 years, and still no contact with her later, and she still tries to tell people she's not a problem. My sister has moved away from her since and doesn't let her kid around her either. Not today, ho. Jesus, your girlfriend has every right to not want to be around her parents. I can't even imagine how awkward and uncomfortable she felt when she was around them. And you have every right to call the cops on her mom. She was trespassing, apparently causing a scene, was warned that the police would be coming, and she still stuck around until the police showed up. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for renovating my house against my parents' wishes? About 6 months ago, I, 27 female, bought my childhood home from my parents. They both were having trouble getting up the stairs and felt they needed to downsize. They wanted to keep the house in the family since they had bought the house from my mother's grandparents. They were going to originally sell to my younger sister since she's the only one that plans to have kids and it is a big house, but she was not in the place to buy it at a time. My parents have spent a lot of money over the years fixing the house to their tastes, and the house is very beautiful. But me and my mother's tastes are very different. Plus, because my father took so long doing each part of the house himself, there are certain parts of the house that look more outdated than the rest. So I've been making plans to renovate most of the rooms. The only part of the house that is remaining the same as it is now is the master bedroom. While I had my parents and sister over for dinner last weekend, I told them about what I'd be changing. They all lost it on me, saying that I was destroying the memories we've made in the house. I disagree, since I have the right to make the house my own, and by their logic, they shouldn't have changed anything after they bought it from my mother's grandparents. They settled down after that, but a couple days ago I found out that my father had called my contractor and tried to fire him, stating that he was the actual owner of the house. When I called my father about it, he told me he would have never sold to me had I mentioned that I would be changing anything. I've since had to go no contact with most of my family because they won't stop calling to yell at me. Not the a-hole. It's your house. It's that simple. Yep, Adobe already gave them the perfect situation as an example. By their logic, they all should still be living in the house as it was when it was designed and built by Opie's great-grandparents. So like what, in the 1940s? As it sounds like Opie's dad had been remodeling the house for the past 30 years, the dad has zero room to be as butthurt as he is. And Opie, any stranger who had bought the house if you or your sister hadn't, would have undoubtedly renovated and remodeled. So many sellers don't understand it's not their house anymore. I can top this. When we bought our present home, I made good friends with a neighbor who was good friends with the former owner's best friend. The previous owners had totally decked out their son's room into something out of a magazine, painting a certain character and their friends on the walls with a matching wallpaper border. We are talking 4 to 6 feet tall characters, full color on all of the walls. Our son wanted something calmer and plain walls. At an MLM get-together that my friend dragged me to, the previous owner's BFF and the rest of the gang was there. The topic of me owning the house came up, and stupid me asked if they thought previous owner would like some of the wallpaper for her son's book, since I would be tearing it down. Their response, "You're redoing the baby's room?" Totally aghast that I would commit such a travesty to a work of art for a long-awaited baby. My friend tried to help, pointing out that my son was a bit too old for that particular character to be the theme of his room. I never did get invited back, but after that, I did not want to go. Not today, home. What? They expected you to live like it's 1987, 1995, 2002, 2005, 2014, and 2020 forever? Oh my god. I can just see all the renovations in 80s bedroom and master bath. Light fixtures that scream, the colors clashing. It hurts. I once toured a house that hadn't been updated in years. It was in perfect condition, but rooms unchanged since the 1980s or even earlier. One of the bedrooms had 1950s kids cowboy wallpaper like Sheriff Woody from Toy Story. I did not buy the house.